The void shimmered. From nothingness, the Arar vessel Zephyrion tore into local space above the rings of Saturn, shedding folds of hyperlight like a serpent molting cosmic skin. On the bridge, Captain Volunder narrowed his eyes. He'd seen thousands of star systems, but this one whispered. Saturn's rings spun in solemn majesty, stretching across the black like a frozen scythe. In the silence of the cockpit, it loomed larger than life, a reminder that nature could sculpt beauty from chaos, but also death from stillness. The crew fell quiet. "Report," Volunder commanded, voice low and guttural, the translator smoothing his tones into deep velvet. "Gravity fields stable. No orbital defenses detected. Primitive radio bands only," replied navigator Thasi, her forefingers dancing across the translucent interface. Volunder didn't nod. He merely stared. "Earth, third planet. Blue jewel wrapped in clouds. No fusion signature, no planetary shield, no defense network. Just the quiet hum of atmospheric noise and carbon-based chatter." "Primitive," someone muttered. "Dangerous," Volunder corrected. His eyes set deep within iridescent folds of chitin, reflected data and memory. "Nothing this quiet is ever truly dead." Thasi paused mid-command. Her tendrils twitched slightly, like reeds touched by an unseen wind. "Captain, you're referring to the myth," she said. Volunder's jaw stiffened. "I'm referring to what isn't on any of our charts." There it was again. The quiet weight. Like a presence not in the room but beneath the fabric of space itself. In the ancient sagas of our origin, the ones banned from educational cores, there was mention of a system at the edge of the spiral arm. Known not by name, but by shadow. The core that watches. "Only fools believe in ancient ghosts," Thasi offered gently, as if trying to ground him. But Volunder wasn't sure anymore. Logic and command had ruled him for cycles, but the moment their ship dropped into orbit, the silence had teeth. The descent toward Earth began. Their ship slid past the moon, a battered sentinel, and curved into low orbit over the Pacific. The cameras fed pristine images to the crew. Emerald jungles, bone-white deserts, city lights flickering across the night side. "Looks untouched," the helmsman said. Thasi frowned. "And yet, it feels like something is watching us." "Life signs?" Volunder asked. "Billions," she replied, voice barely above a whisper. "But no advanced tech, their civilization, it's pre-quantum." Volunder leaned forward. "That's impossible." But the numbers didn't lie. A world with billions of sentience, yet not a single orbital craft. No defense grid, no warning beacons. "Like an egg with no shell," Thasi murmured. "No," Volunder corrected again, eyes narrowing. "Like an egg someone placed back in the nest." Below them, clouds swirled slowly. Over the Indian Ocean, a storm system stretched in perfect golden spirals, too perfect. Volunder didn't speak, but deep within an ancestral dread stirred. Not the fear of war or death, something older. The kind passed down through bone, not memory. He remembered his father, a rigid man of science, once whispering after too much Zirin wine, "There was a time we looked up and knew we were being watched. Then we forgot. That was the mistake." Volunder had laughed then. He wasn't laughing now. "Prepare survey drones," he ordered. Thasi hesitated. "Sir, are we making contact?" "No, not yet. Just observe, quietly." She relayed the command, but her posture stiffened. Her eyes, pale and multi-iris, darted back to the display. "Sir, I'm detecting a fluctuation beneath the Antarctic shelf." Volunder turned. "Seismic?" She shook her head. "No, it's rhythmic, like a pulse." "Artificial?" She didn't answer immediately. "It's too deep for standard readings. But it's old, like it's been dormant." A long silence. Volunder's gaze fell on Earth again, and for the first time in his career, he felt something he didn't understand. A hesitation that came not from fear, but reverence. He whispered, "What are you hiding, little blue world?" Moments later, the forward sensors blinked. A transmission, not in any known galactic language, just a burst of sound, structured but indecipherable. It came from the Pacific Trench, then from the Sahara, then from the Andes. 3 points, a triangle, all simultaneously. "Captain," Thasi said slowly, "that's not just signal interference, it's a pattern." Volunder stood. "Bring us into synchronous orbit over Antarctica. We descend at first light." "But sir," he turned, and for a moment the crew glimpsed something ancient in his eyes. "Every myth," he said, "starts with a choice." The Zephyrion adjusted course with a low hum, atmospheric stabilizers engaging as it shifted into a tight orbit above Antarctica. White storms curled like ghosts beneath them, vast and slow-moving. The bridge lights dimmed automatically as Earth's shadows swept across the viewports. For a moment, it felt like night had teeth. Captain Volander remained silent, arms folded behind his back, eyes fixed on the world below. No one spoke, not even Thasi, who usually filled silence with facts or sarcasm. But here, in orbit above a planet that felt both dead and breathing, words seemed heavy. Then it came. A flicker. A heartbeat in the systems. "Captain," Thasi said sharply, voice edged with unease. "We've just had a temperature spike in Deck 2. Volander turned. "What kind of spike?" Thasi's tendrils trembled, something she couldn't suppress. It went from ambient to core meltdown levels in under a second, then dropped back to normal, no source. Volander's jaw clenched. "Sabotage? Impossible. We're sealed. Internal systems are stable. It's like the ship felt something." Then the lights went out. Not flickered, not dimmed. Gone. Absolute blackness. A moment later, every screen, every sensor, every lens began pouring symbols none of them recognized. Not a RAR code, not standard galactic glyphs. This wasn't encryption, it was memory. Layered images. Cities half buried in glass. Structures older than tectonics. Forms, tall, bipedal, luminescent, standing beneath stars arranged in ways no star map recorded. "What the hell is this?" the helmsman gasped, claws twitching. Thasi said nothing. She was staring at one symbol, repeating across her console like a drumbeat. A single circle, surrounded by 9 smaller ones, each pulsing with a rhythm. No sound, just vibration. Deep. Biological. "Sir," she said quietly, "I think we've triggered something." The ship lurched. An invisible wave slammed into the hull. Not force, not plasma, not radiation. Just presence. The crew fell, systems scrambled, and somewhere deep inside the Zephyrion's ancient fusion core something shuddered. Alarms blared, then silenced themselves as if afraid. "It's not a weapon," Thasi whispered, eyes wide. "It's recognition." Volander rose, stabilizing himself against the rail. "Explain." It scanned us, not with sensors, with memory, like it was checking if we belong here." "And?" Thasi met his gaze. "We don't." On the hull, ancient frost formed across the metal, impossible given the heat levels. But it wasn't frost, it was pattern. Etchings, moving, reshaping, forming what looked like DNA strands, except there were 4 strands, not 2, an old configuration, pre-evolutionary. "Sir," the helmsman choked, "I'm losing starfield orientation." "What do you mean?" "We're not where we were." Volander strode to the front display. Outside the viewport, Earth remained, but the stars behind it had changed. Slightly, subtly, like someone had moved the simulation. Or them. "We didn't shift," Thasi said, horror blooming in her chest. "It did. It warped local space-time around us." Volander's mouth was dry. "We're inside something." "A memory construct," she whispered. "Earth doesn't defend with weapons. It remembers, and we've entered a place where we're being judged." Suddenly, one word appeared across every surface, every wall, panel, even their HUD implants. "Why?" Then again, "Why?" Volander shouted, "Shut it down. Disconnect all external feeds." Too late. The word began bleeding into their minds, bypassing tech, bypassing flesh. Each of them saw something different. An image pulled from their deepest history. A battlefield. A buried world. A child staring upward before being consumed by flame. Guilt. Remembrance. Not theirs but someone's, someone older. "Sir," Thasi said, eyes glassy, "I think this planet doesn't want to know who we are. It wants to know what we forgot." Silence reclaimed the bridge. The lights flickered back to life. Systems normalized, sensors cleared. Earth spun below, serene. Too serene. Volander took a long breath. "That wasn't a warning shot," he murmured. "No," Thasi agreed. "It was a dream. It let us borrow a piece of its memory to see if we would flinch." He turned toward her. "Did you?" Her silence was answer enough. Volander straightened. "Helm, prepare descent to lower orbit, southern hemisphere." "Sir, are you serious?" the helmsman cried. "It knows we're here. It just reached inside us." Volander's eyes burned with something strange. Not courage, not defiance, curiosity. "Good," he said. "Let it know we're still watching back." A pause. Then we go lower. The Zephyrien breached the upper atmosphere like a silver wound in the sky. Clouds parted, hissing against its plasma shielding, and below, Antarctica stretched vast and pale, a frozen desert unbroken by time or life. but something was wrong. Thus he could feel it, not in her instruments, but in her bones. Atmospheric scans normal, she said, but her voice lacked certainty. No radiation, no anomalies, but the thermal layer is warm. Volunder raised an eye-ridge. Warm? Surface temperature reads at 12 degrees Celsius. The helmsman turned. But it's the polar continent. No storms, no wind, no life, but not cold. She paused. It's like the ice is alive. Touchdown was surgical. Landing gear hissed against solid ground, yet the ice beneath them barely cracked. Volunder led the away team. 5 armored Arar, plus Thasi. No drones this time. He didn't trust machines here. The ship's ramp descended with a slow hiss. Outside, nothing moved. The horizon stretched infinitely white, lit by a sun too shy to rise. The team stepped forward, boots crunching on the frostless ice, and then silence. Not just lack of sound, the absence of permission. Volunder clenched his jaw. He felt it now, what his father had called the hush of ancient things. He looked up. No clouds, no wind, no birds. Even their footfalls felt borrowed. Captain, Thasi whispered beside him, I can hear something. He glanced sideways. Comms? She shook her head. No, inside. She knelt, glove brushing the glassy ground. The ice was translucent, too translucent. Beneath it, faint lines etched their way outward like veins. Geometric, fractal, she said slowly. This isn't ice, not natural ice. It's structured, like a lattice or storage medium. Like crystal? Like memory. They moved cautiously, weapons idle but armed, toward a dark ridge in the distance, something that broke the perfect white line of the world. As they approached, the ground subtly sloped downward, revealing what lay hidden from orbit. A spire, black, smooth, alien, yet not. Not Arar, not any known species. And around it, fragments. Stone, metal, worn with age, marked with symbols unfamiliar, yet unmistakably deliberate. Thus he touched one of the slabs, and her tendrils flinched. It's speaking, she breathed. Volunder spun. What? Not with words, she said. Not sound. It's like it's showing me something. She stumbled backward, eyes wide. I saw, she gasped, a sky filled with rings. Not like Saturn, closer, massive, and a city beneath the ocean, lit from within. It was singing. Volunder scanned her. You're hallucinating. She turned to him, breath rapid. No, it was real, and it wasn't from me. It was given. One of the soldiers called out, Captain, over here. Volunder strode over. The ice beneath the soldier's feet had fractured, revealing a spiral tunnel descending deep beneath the ground. The surface above it was warm to the touch, like breath. Volunder signaled the team. We're going in. Sir, Thasi said, her voice taut. I'm not sure we should. Not until we understand what this place is. He turned to her, voice hard but low. We came here because something called to us. Something ancient. If it wanted us dead, it would have struck already. She didn't reply, but her gaze lingered on the darkness below like it remembered drowning. They descended slowly, no lights needed. The walls glowed faintly, patterns pulsing with bioluminescence. Not made, not installed, grown, as if the structure itself were alive. The tunnel opened into a circular chamber, half fused with the ice itself. At the center stood a column, obsidian and humming. Around it, glyphs, floating, moving without force, and in the corner a figure. At first they thought it was a statue, then it blinked. The soldier closest raised his rifle. Hold, Volunder snapped. The figure stood, humanoid, tall, emaciated but elegant, skin dark as volcanic stone, laced with silver veins that pulsed faintly in time with the glyphs. It spoke one word. None of them understood it, but Thasi dropped to her knees. Tears ran down her cheeks. What did it say? Volunder demanded. She looked up, trembling. It said, welcome back. And then it happened. The soldier nearest the column cried out, grabbing his helmet. His suit's systems began blinking erratically. His breathing hitched, then steadied. He turned to them slowly. His eyes, visible through the visor, were glowing white blue. Volunder raised his weapon. Don't move. But the soldier simply smiled. Not wide, not cruel, just soft. I remember, he said, voice no longer his. Remember what? Volunder growled. The figure in the corner answered, though its mouth did not move. Us. The chamber pulsed with ancient rhythm, low, harmonic, like the heartbeat of something too large to see. The glowing-eyed soldier stood motionless beside the column, his breath steady. Around him, the glyphs spun like slow galaxies, orbiting thought instead of matter. Volunder kept his weapon raised. Name, rank, code, he barked. But the soldier didn't respond. He wasn't hostile, just serene. That was worse. "Restrain him," Volunder ordered. Another Marine stepped forward, but before he touched the soldier's shoulder, the column flared. A wave of light, not bright, but impossibly deep, washed through the chamber. For an instant, every Arar felt it. Not pain, not heat, memory. Thasi staggered backward, clutching her chest. "I saw," she gasped, "stars dying, not exploding, being harvested, whole systems folded like parchment." Volunder turned to her, eyes sharp. "What do you mean harvested?" "They weren't at war," she whispered. "They were cleaning up after something far worse." The soldier's body slumped. Eyes dimmed, he fell to his knees, gasping. His voice, his real voice, returned. "What was that?" he said, dazed. Before anyone could answer, the column cracked open. It didn't move mechanically, it unfolded like petals of a stone flower. Within it, a stairwell spiraling downward, impossibly narrow. Glyphs along the walls reoriented, forming a single trail of light that led into the dark. Volunder turned slowly. "It wants us to go deeper. Or it wants us buried," one Marine muttered. Thasi stepped forward before Volunder could reply. Her eyes no longer held fear, just purpose. "We came this far for truth," she said. "We don't turn back now." The descent was longer than it should have been. Physics bent subtly. Steps that should have been 30 meters dropped them hundreds. The light never dimmed, though no source was visible. At last, the stairs ended in a smooth obsidian archway, sealed with no apparent mechanism. Thasi stepped toward it. "Wait," Volunder snapped, but her hand was already outstretched. As her fingers grazed the surface, the glyphs flared, not with light, but with sound. A tone. Not heard, but remembered. The wall dissolved. They entered a vast hall. The ceiling, if it had one, was lost in darkness. The walls shimmered with ghostlight, reflecting back images that didn't belong. In one moment, the team saw themselves. The next, strangers. Beings with elongated forms, skin like liquid chrome, standing in the same positions, not reflections, echoes. At the center stood a raised platform. Upon it, a human figure, but not flesh. A hologram hard-like construct, eyes closed, hands folded over its chest, clothed in robes that shimmered like woven time. Then it opened its eyes. Everything in the chamber went still. The figure spoke a single word. Archive. No translation, no syntax, just wait. As if the word itself was too ancient for language. Glyphs spun around the construct, projecting images into the air. Cities suspended in clouds, vessels the size of moons carving through nebulae, creatures born in suns, fleeing from something darker. Thasi stepped closer, awestruck. "It's a record," she murmured, "a memory engine." Volunder's voice was taut, a monument. "No," she corrected, eyes wide, a warning. The projection shifted. They saw a world, not Earth but similar. Oceans red with heat, a sky fractured like glass, and then beings arrived, bipedal, human but radiant with tech indistinguishable from biology. They didn't attack, they sang, and the planet healed beneath their voices. One of the Marines whispered, "They're gods." But the next image shattered the illusion. A fleet. Jagged, hungry, alien, truly alien. Machines grown, not built. Intelligence that consumed its creators. A war not of conquest but erasure. The radiant beings fought, they lost, but before extinction, they chose silence, to sleep, to hide, to forget. The archive closed its eyes again, the projection ceased. Thasi was weeping. "They were us," she whispered, "or we were them." The line, it's blurred, twisted by time, by mutation, by fear. Volunder said nothing. Then, the platform began to shift, rising slowly. A circular gate unfolded beneath it, etched with symbols now familiar. A final glyph burned into the air above it. 9 orbs around one. Solar system, origin, home. Volunder looked at Thasi. "Is this what you were hoping to find?" "No," she said, voice breaking. "This is what I was afraid to find." And beneath her breath, in a tongue she did not remember knowing, she whispered, "Lirayan Sova." Volunder turned sharply. "What did you just say?" Thasi blinked, startled. I don't know, it just came to me." She looked at the gate. "I think it's opening." The gate pulsed, not with energy, but with memory. As the final glyph locked into alignment, a soft hum vibrated through the chamber, like the exhale of a sleeping giant stirred from slumber. Light poured into the carved lines of the floor, threading outward in fractal patterns, lighting pathways that had slept for 1,000,000 years. Thasi took a step forward. The floor beneath her shimmered and became translucent. Not glass, something finer, a canvas of light, and then it showed her. Not herself as she was, but as she once was. A woman, taller, sharper, cloaked in starlight, stepping through rings of impossible size. Each ring opened to another world. Forests of gas, cities built into moving tectonics, oceans turned upward like bowls. She moved between them, not as a visitor, as a builder. Thasi gasped, stumbling back, but the image persisted. Other beings walked beside her, some winged, others glowing from within. All humanoid. All unmistakably related. Variants, divergence, yet they shared the same bones, and they called her something Sovali. The voice came not from the archive but from the air itself. Sovali, engineer of veins, bearer of the fold key, exiled by silence. Thasi turned to Volunder, her voice shaking. That was me, she whispered, or a version of me. A life? From another cycle. Volunder's expression was carved from ice. No, that's manipulation. Induced delusion. Captain? He stepped closer, eyes burning. Do not let fantasy rewrite science. Thasi looked down. The light beneath her boots now showed star charts, not of one galaxy but many, connected by interlocking circles. Portals, gateways, lines of travel, all radiating from one point, Sol, Earth. They came from here, she said. They built the first network, spread out into the stars, then erased themselves. Volunder growled. Why? Maybe they saw what was coming. That war we glimpsed in the archive. He turned away. No, this is heresy. The Ara Council teaches we were born of the stars, children of expansion, not descendants of ghosts. Thasi looked up, her face pale. What if that's exactly what we are? Children who forgot their home. The archive stirred. Its hologram extended one hand. A new projection bloomed, larger than before. A rotating model of Earth overlaid with ancient structures. A ring beneath the Sahara. Towers deep under the Pacific. An immense spire buried in the Amazon. And then, threads extended from each site, linking them to constellations. Each one ended in a glyph that matched an existing alien species. Volunder recognized his own. You're saying, all of us? He said. Thasi nodded slowly. We're not alien to Earth. We're Earth. Scattered, reshaped, evolved. Volunder stepped back like she'd struck him. No, he whispered. We were told we evolved on Ratel, that our DNA was sacred, unique. Look, Thasi said softly. A final image hovered in the air. It was an embryo, familiar, humanoid, rotating slowly in amber light. Its DNA sequence unfolded strand by strand, quadruple helix. Then, another embryo appeared beside it, RR, triplet helix. Then, a third, another species. Each variation but all linked back to the first, humanity prime. Volunder's hands clenched. We built our civilization believing we were chosen. Thasi touched his arm. Maybe we still are, just not in the way we thought. He pulled away. Chosen by what? By them? These ancients? No, she said. Chosen by memory, chosen to remember. A deep rumble echoed below. The gate trembled slightly. From it, a new chamber rose, platforms spiraling outward, forming a map not just of space, but time, periods, epochs. Each labeled in forgotten script, each pointing to an event, a singular war, a retreat, a pact. Then, silence, and one phrase burned across the final marker. To remain is to fade, to forget is to survive, to sleep is to protect. Thasi stared at it, breathing shallow. They weren't defeated, she said. They chose to vanish. Volunder's voice was rough. Why hide power like that? The archive's eyes flared one last time. A new image shimmered. Not history, a vision. Earth reborn. Towering cities rising again, this time guided by light, not conquest. Species walking together beneath twin moons. Gates reactivated, children speaking in a language that vibrated with purpose, and in the center, her, Thasi, standing in the spire of light, not leading, remembering. Volunder dropped to one knee, not out of faith, but because the weight of everything threatened to crush him. They lied to us, he murmured, all this time. Thasi stepped forward, voice gentle but strong. They didn't lie, they just forgot. She reached for his hand. This is not the end of what we are, Captain. He looked at her, eyes wide. It's the beginning. The temperature dropped. Not to cold, but to clarity. The kind of sharpness that made sound feel hollow. The kind of stillness that told predators the hunt had begun. They emerged from the chamber into a narrow passage, descending deeper still. The light from the archive dimmed behind them, but a new glow pulsed ahead. Faint, cyan, breathing slowly like a slumbering beast beneath water. They had reached the ice shelf's root, and something below was waiting. Thasi stepped lightly, eyes fixed on the shifting glow that seemed to run beneath the ice itself, lines symmetrical, too precise to be natural. "Captain," she whispered, "this isn't structure." Volunder turned. "Explain." She knelt, gloved hand against the frozen floor. "This is skin." He frowned. "Not biological, but responsive, like plating on a hibernating starship." The others fell silent. One Marine, Yearn, muttered nervously, "We shouldn't be here. This is a tomb." "No." Another replied, "It's a womb." Suddenly the ground vibrated. Soft, a heartbeat. Then again, the ice cracked, not violently but purposefully, like a cocoon splitting. Before them a great flat surface, kilometers wide, began to sink slowly. And in its place, something rose. A shape, a hull, smooth, black, ancient. The ice clung to it like tears clinging to a face long frozen in grief. Lights sparked across its surface, blue and white, crawling like veins across a god's sleeping skin. Whole continents of plating reoriented themselves, unfolding antennae, runes, and mechanisms too advanced to be understood, technology grown from memory. They weren't just looking at a ship, they were looking at a mother. Volunder stumbled backward. It was here, the whole time. Under us. Thasi's voice was reverent. The Thuin Meh, the first craft. As they watched, a spiraling tower rose from its center, an ancient command spire. Slowly, without sound, it pivoted to face them. "Captain," one soldier gasped, "we triggered something." "No," Thasi corrected, "she recognized us." Then came the lights. Ribbons of pure holographic architecture bled from the vessel like arteries reigniting. They arced across the surrounding snow, forming translucent corridors, glyphs and bridges to nowhere. Dozens of them, hundreds. A song filled the air, vibrations felt in bone, not ears. Thasi cried out and fell to her knees. "I hear them," she gasped. So many voices, not speaking, remembering. Volunder pulled her back. "We're leaving." "Captain, this isn't discovery. This is invasion, and it's waking up." But it was already too late. From the snow behind them, the landing site erupted. One of their dropships had been pierced through by a pillar of light from below. In its place, an orb hovered, silent, observing, then another. Volunder activated his comms. "Zephyrian, immediate evac signal, prepare extraction, lock onto biotags." No response, static. More orbs appeared, circling slowly. They weren't weapons, they weren't drones, they were sensors. Or worse, memories with purpose. "Sir," a Marine stammered, "request permission to abort mission. This isn't reconnaissance anymore." Yearn backed away. "We don't belong here. This isn't alien. This is older than alien." A pulse from the ship rolled outward like a silent explosion, snow evaporated, and the sky above dimmed unnaturally. Thasi looked up. The clouds had parted. Above them, a perfect circle of clear sky, too perfect. And inside it, a symbol made of vapor. 9 points around one. Solar system. Origin. "I want out," Yearn said louder. "This is a trap." One soldier stepped toward him, then stopped. Yearn's eyes were glowing. "Yearn?" Volunder raised his weapon. "Stand down." Yearn turned and smiled, but this smile wasn't peaceful like the first soldiers had been. It was ecstatic, consumed. "I remember," Yearn whispered, eyes flickering. "I was part of her." And then he vanished. No sound, no flash. He simply unraveled, like mist blown across ancient circuitry. Panic erupted. "Fall back," Volunder roared. "Back to the entry shaft." But the path was gone, replaced by pulsing light. The ice had reshaped. "We're being rerouted," Thasi breathed. Volunder shoved her ahead. "Then move, while we still can." They sprinted across glowing snow beneath arches of light and memory. Behind them, the Thuin Meh pulsed again, like something breathing in for the first time in an eon, and far beneath the surface, its engines sighed. They didn't burn, they sang. Blue plasma leaked like fog through vents the size of cities, and the entire Antarctic crust trembled. Tectonic stress readings spiked, yet no earthquakes came. The land bent gently, as if making room. Thasi stared behind her. "Captain, I don't think she's waking up to destroy us." "Then what?" he panted. "She's waking up because she remembers us." They reached a ledge. Below it, a hollow chasm formed of ancient hangars and docking arms, miles wide. In the center, rising slowly from the darkness, was a smaller vessel. Still enormous, but dwarfed by the mother. It hovered in silence, waiting. One of the Marine scanners flickered. "That's not an escort ship," he said. "It's a courier," Thasi smiled, "or a cradle." Volander stared at the light, at the scale, at the impossible scope of what they'd just awoken, and for the first time since landing, his voice shook. "We aren't the explorers here," he said. Thasi nodded. "We're the children." The corridor narrowed as they approached the courier ship. Unlike the sprawling vaults of the mother vessel, this chamber felt personal, intimate, like a pulse between ribs. The walls were not walls, but strands of light, braided into shape, and between each thread, memories flickered, glimpses of cities that never existed, beings with hands of fire, children playing in zero-gravity gardens. Thasi stopped. Her fingers hovered inches from one thread, its surface quivering in anticipation. "She's asking," Thasi whispered. "Permission?" Volander frowned. "For what?" "To show me who we were." A glyph emerged from the floor, curling upward like smoke solidified. It pressed gently into Thasi's chest. She didn't resist. The room dimmed, her eyes rolled back, and then everything fractured. She stood beneath a sun that didn't burn, a sky woven from energy, crisscrossed with orbital rings the size of continents. Around her moved giants, not of size, but of presence. Humanoid, yes, but each one vibrated with raw intent. They didn't walk, they flowed. When they spoke, mountains reshaped. When they dreamed, planets cooled. And she was one of them. Not as a visitor, as Sova Lee, bearer of the fold key, architect of the gate spine. She remembered how her fingers once carved code into asteroid cores, how she whispered to dying stars to delay their deaths, how she bent gravity not with tools, but with conviction. But even among gods, fear found root. Thasi saw the great rift, the arrival of them, creatures without memory, intelligence without time. They consumed not just life, but the context of life. History, language, even cause and effect. They didn't invade, they unwrote. The ancients fought back, gathering at Sol, their strongest node. A final decision was made. Not surrender, not war, but retreat into myth. One last moment burned brightest. A gathering, millions strong. All races, all branches of the human genome, unified under the last sky. In silence, they sent their minds inward, casting memory into code, into ice, into light. "Let them forget us," the last command echoed. "So they may survive. Let them forget what it means to be gods." Thasi gasped. She was back, on her knees in the chamber, breath ragged, tears streaming. Volander held her shoulders. "What did you see?" She looked up, eyes glowing faintly. "I saw the beginning," she said, "and the choice to end it." Then it appeared. A figure stepped from the wall of light, small, childlike, genderless, skin smooth and glowing like pearl, eyes endless and knowing. It tilted its head, as if inspecting a forgotten toy rediscovered after ages. "You are Sova," it said, not in voice, but in thought. "I was," Thasi replied, "but now I'm only trying to remember." The figure stepped forward. Its feet didn't touch the floor. It reached out and placed its palm over Thasi's heart. A flood. She saw more. The faces of 1,000 civilizations descended from Earth. Arar, Varn, Lukari. All siblings, evolved, separated by distance and time, but still children of Sol. And they were meant to forget. Meant to struggle, rediscover, choose. The child spoke again. "We did not vanish. We stepped aside, so that when the stars turned cold, something warmer would return." Volander stared at the child. "What are you?" It turned to him. "I am the story." Silence. The kind that silences weapons. Thasi stood, something new behind her eyes. Not arrogance, understanding. "The ship, it's not a machine," she said. "It's a memory, and it's choosing who to share itself with." The child nodded. "Your kind are not ready to be what you were, but perhaps ready to remember why you stopped." Outside, the Thuenme's full structure had risen. Ice cracked across the continent, but gently. No destruction, only rebirth. The orbital fleet above flickered in confusion, sensors picking up atmospheric distortion too complex to map. Back within the hall, the child stepped away, and with a smile so human it broke something in Volander's chest, it said, "Welcome home." Above Antarctica, space tore open. A fracture, clean, controlled, silent. From it emerged the Crown-class flagship Vexil car, its obsidian hull lined with thousands of modular weapon nodes and gravitational anchors that shimmered like starlight on water. The ship was 5 times the size of Zephyrian, and it came with orders. Inside the Thuenme, Volander's comm crackled back to life. "Captain Volander, this is High Strategos Arenthel of the Arar Council. You will report status, now." He glanced at Thasi. She still stood near the child-shaped AI, her skin faintly glowing with residual memory echoes. The chamber pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Volunder tapped his comm. "This is Volunder. We've made contact with an artifact. It's ancient and alive, potentially intelligent, possibly ancestral." A pause, then a curt reply. "Data received. New orders. Retreat to a safe radius. We will initiate cleansing sequence in 15 standard." He blinked. "What?" In orbit, the Vexel car's weapon banks deployed. A lattice of light began forming, a sterilization array. It would not destroy the planet, merely everything within the anomaly's epicenter. Everything unpredictable. "Thasi," Volunder growled, stepping closer. "We have to go. Now." "No. Don't be a fool. They'll reduce this whole zone to purified glass." "She knows," Thasi said, pointing to the AI child. "She's already seen it happen, again and again. Civilizations find the truth, and their fear makes them erase it." Volunder grabbed her wrist. "We can't stop the council. This isn't politics, this is doctrine." And then the room spoke. Not the child, the ship. Its walls trembled with low harmonic tones, too structured to be natural, too old to be artificial. Every glyph, every pulse of light rearranged into warning patterns. The message was clear. A choice is coming, one made not by the strong, but the remembering. Thasi looked up. "Volunder, she's giving us a window." "A what?" "She's opening the channel." "To the Vexel car." Back on the flagship, the bridge lights flickered. Technicians shouted. One console erupted in cascading foreign symbols. "Strategos," an officer called out. "We're being called." "From Surface Anomaly Core. It's bypassing encryption. Direct to command stream." Arenthal narrowed his eyes. "Open it." A voice filled the bridge. Not human, not Arar, not entirely anything, but inside it were echoes of home, of stars, of fire, of lullabies sung before language was born. "This world remembers," the voice said. "You stand at its cradle. Will you become its midwife or its executioner?" Irenthal's expression remained unmoved. Emotional mimicry, strategic hallucination. Ignore it. The array continued to charge. Back below, Thasi reached forward and touched the child. Their minds connected. No barrier now. She felt the fear from orbit, the cold logic of doctrine. And she answered not with weapons, but with a story. She broadcasted the images the ship had shown her, the giants who once dreamed stars into motion, the final decision to sleep so that others could live, and the choice to forget so others might learn. And into that message, she added her own words. "I am Thasi of Arar. I speak not as a heretic, but as a daughter of two truths. You fear what you cannot control. But what if this was never meant to be controlled? What if it's not a weapon, but a memory, waiting for someone to prove they deserve it back?" For 10 full seconds, the Vexel car hung in silence. The array paused. Arenthal's hand hovered over the command seal, and in that stillness, the AI child looked at Volunder. "She believes." He clenched his fists, looked up, and made his choice. "Strategos," Volunder said, reactivating his channel. "Override Protocol B12. "What?" "I'm assuming command. You've forgotten who we are, but I've seen it." A tremor ran through the surface as the sterilization array shut down. A single light blinked red. "Stand by." Volunder turned to Thasi. His voice cracked, not from weakness, but from awe. "You just stared down an empire." Thasi exhaled. "We're not here to fight it." "Then what?" "To wake it up." Above Earth's southern pole, the stars held their breath. The Vexel car drifted silently in orbit, its weapons array retracted, but not forgotten. The sterilization protocol hovered one breath away from activation, held back only by an override that felt more like a temporary truce than any lasting peace. Inside the Thuanmat, silence fell. But it was the kind that comes before a storm. Volunder stared at the glowing runes lining the chamber walls, pulsing like veins under translucent skin. Each beat echoed with memory, like the whisper of a world half dreamt and half dead. He turned toward Thasi, whose hands remained joined with the AI child. Her eyes had become mirrors of starfields, reflections of the past too ancient to name. "I still don't know if I trust this," he murmured. "You don't need to," Thasi replied. "You only need to feel it." "I feel like we're seconds from being incinerated." From his wristpad, a coded transmission flashed. Volunder frowned. It was encrypted in an old priority key, one only used for absolute security. He opened it, Initiate purge protocol. Override B12 was unauthorized. Strategos Irenthel now assumes field command. Compliance is expected. Resistance is treason. He went cold. A traitorous click echoed behind him. He turned. Lieutenant Korin, one of the bridge officers who had accompanied the surface team, held a plasma cutter aimed at Thasi. "Forgive me, Captain," Korin said, "but you're compromised." Volunder stepped between them. "Stand down, Korin. That's an order." "No, this is," Korin growled and fired. The beam lanced toward Thasi, but hit Volunder in the chest. The blast hurled him back against the wall, armor scorched, smoke curling from the wound. Thasi screamed. The walls responded. The entire ship screamed back. The lights dimmed, then flared blue. Symbols began to burn across the floor, Dea ancient and alive, reacting to betrayal. And then the voice came. Not the child. The ship itself. Judgment rendered, memory unheeded, fire awakens. Above, the Vexel car systems went haywire. Weapon nodes activated on their own. Engines surged, then stalled. Alarm klaxons blared across all decks. The AI of the mothership had accessed everything. And it was not happy. It didn't strike first. It reflected. An enormous beam of blue-white light shot from Antarctica straight into orbit, not as a weapon, but a mirror. Everything the Vexel car had prepared it saw in return. Multiplied, refined, perfected. On the ice below, Thasi knelt beside Volunder, who coughed blood onto his gauntlet. "Why?" she asked, voice breaking. "Because you believed," he rasped. "I forgot how to do that. You could have left. But then I'd never know if we were meant to come home." His hand gripped hers, hard. "Listen to me. They will try again. The Council, the others. You'll need to choose, memory or doctrine." "I don't know if I'm strong enough." Volunder smiled, a real one, even through the pain. "Then don't do it alone." And with that, Volunder, the doubter, the captain, the defender, was gone. The AI child appeared beside her, silent, mourning. Then it turned toward the rising storm above. The voice of the ship spoke once more. "Their fear has been witnessed. Their response has been recorded. Next time, there will be no mirror." A hush returned, but not peace. Above, the Vexel car floated powerless. Its command crew watched helplessly as the beam subsided, and every system returned to normal. Except for one. A single word now glowed on every screen. "Remember," floated powerless. The storm had passed. The sky above Antarctica shimmered with unnatural stillness, as though space itself had taken a breath, and was now unsure how to exhale. Inside the Thuyan, Thasi stood alone in the core chamber. Volunder's body had been moved, wrapped in honor silk set beside the archive gate. She didn't cry. Not anymore. Tears were for endings. This was the beginning. The AI child stood beside her, solemn. "This is the last door," it said. Thasi nodded. "What's behind it?" "You." The chamber pulsed open, not mechanically, but like a flower recognizing spring. Light peeled back in concentric waves until only darkness remained beyond. But it was not emptiness. It was depth. Thasi stepped in. The world dissolved. Not pain, not disorientation, just weightlessness. Then, touch. Millions of points of light brushed against her skin. Memories, algorithms, languages too old for vocal cords. She didn't see them. She became them. Cities above gas giants. Forests that grew upward into orbit. Wars that ended in silence, and silence that began in love. She stood in the memory core of the first species to dream with purpose. And they remembered her. A voice, not the child's, filled her thoughts. "You bear the seed. You have chosen to look backward in order to move forward. This is what makes you more." Thasi felt it then. The network. A vast, crystalline web spreading from Earth like veins from a heart. Fragmented, broken, but present. Each node a world. Each world, asleep. One by one they pulsed faintly. Abraxas Prime, Varela, Ocean 3, the Gate of Mirrors. All once part of humanity's galactic weave. All cut off when Earth chose silence, until now. Thasi reached out, not with fingers but with intention. The core responded. A holographic star map erupted around her, each point connected by luminous lines of once-forgotten travel routes. She spoke without speaking. It's time. The ship vibrated as the first node linked. Ocean 3 blinked green. Then Varela. Then 2 more. Then 5. Then 12. Like neurons remembering how to fire. From orbit, the Vexel car recorded anomalies. Pulse echoes radiating across subspace, not harmful, but awakening. They didn't know what they were witnessing, but they could feel it. history realigning itself. Back inside the chamber, Thasi fell to one knee. So much energy, so much weight. The child caught her. "You've reconnected more than paths," it said. "You've reconnected choice. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next." "You're not supposed to do anything," the child smiled. "You're supposed to choose." Outside, the air warmed, not physically but psychologically. Somewhere deep in the ice, ancient drones stirred. Not weapons. Messengers. They rose from the depths, 6 of them, each shaped like a different mythic animal. Phoenix, leviathan, owl, tiger, dragonfly, and serpent. Each launched into orbit with trails of light. Each carried part of the signal Thasi had triggered. Each flew in a different direction. In her final moments inside the core, Thasi saw herself. Not in the mirror, but in the memory. A flicker of her face etched in a time before her birth. Standing beside architects of worlds, laughing with children who'd shaped stars. The message was clear: you were always meant to return. She stepped out of the chamber, eyes burning faint blue. The council had sent her as a scout. She had become an heir. Volunder had died in doubt. She would live in conviction. Her voice echoed through the great hall of the Thuin-Me, to the remaining crew, to the Vexel car above, to every listening system across the sky. This was never just Earth. This was a keystone, and I will not let it sleep again. Space has no sound, but in that moment, every antenna, every subspace relay, every dormant node across 1,000 worlds heard it. The signal came from Earth, not from the Arar, not from machines, but from the Thuin-Me. It wasn't a scream, it wasn't a war cry, it was a reminder. On Varela 9, the sky shimmered violet as a forgotten obelisk pulsed for the first time in 20 millennia. In the storm deserts of Kaz, a nomadic species, blind and old, stopped mid-step. One of them whispered, "The song has returned." In orbit above a drowned moon, a patrol ship caught static, then rhythm, then meaning, a message in no known tongue, yet understood by all. It said we were not made, we chose to awaken, and in that choice we found each other. If you remember us, you are not alone. Back on Earth, Thasi stood in the core transmission arch, arms outstretched, her body lit with geometric blue. The AI child floated beside her, acting as bridge and amplifier. Together, they spoke in the language of origin, not one of grammar, but of intent, of pattern, of memory woven into tone. Each syllable was a choice that once changed stars. Somewhere in the outer rim, a young hybrid child dreamed of oceans she'd never seen. When the message reached her, she woke, eyes wide, glowing faintly gold. "I know this," she whispered, "but I've never heard it before." In the ruins of an asteroid cathedral, forgotten for ages, a biomechanical priest knelt. Its data cores lit up with cascading code. On the 15th ring of Tel Koresh, a crystal tower began to hum in tune with itself, shedding its dormant cloak. From the ashes of extinction, recognition bloomed. On the bridge of Vexel Kar, Strategos Arenthel stood frozen as console after console registered the call. A technician turned to him. "Sir, we're receiving over 400 return signals. Not from the Council, from everywhere." "Everywhere?" "Some of these tags haven't existed since before the collapse." Arenthel swallowed. For the first time in decades, he felt fear. Not of war, but of being left behind. The signal's final phrase unfolded as an image, not sound, a silhouette of a child standing in shadow. A human child, its eyes glowing faintly, like twin stars. It lifted one hand and spoke, not to any species, but to the truth they'd all buried. We were gods, but we forgot. Across the stars, millions paused. Some wept without knowing why. Others saw visions, planets they'd never visited, names they'd never been given. But most felt something stir inside their genetic ghosts, a tug toward a home they didn't know they'd lost. Thasi collapsed to one knee as the signal finished. The child caught her gently. "It is done," it said. "Will they come?" she asked, breathless. "Some will. And the others? They will try to stop it." Above, 1,000 ships began to stir, some heading toward Earth, others away. But the message had gone out. It could not be undone. And in its wake, civilizations old and new now had to answer a question far older than war. If you were once more than this, would you dare remember who you were? Space bent. No light, no thunder, just a distortion, like the universe had blinked. and when it opened its eye again, a gate had appeared. Floating in synchronous orbit above Earth, the structure resembled nothing built by modern hands. No engines, no seams, no lights, just gravity shaped like a memory, a perfect circle. 2 kilometers wide, etched with symbols that glowed only when unseen. The Vexel car held position, silent. Across the Council's networks, panic bloomed. Diplomatic channels burst into wariness and wonder. Prophets claimed it was the end, scientists swore it was the beginning. But only one person knew the truth. Thasi. She stood at the prow of the Thuyanme, flanked by a crew no longer just Arar. With her were a mosaic of origins, a priest-engineer from Virella, whose kind once spoke in harmonics, a biosymbiont from Kaz, still dreaming in color, an earthborn child rescued from cryo-limbo, eyes glowing like Thasi's, and 2 soldiers from the Vexel car who had chosen to stay. "Is it stable?" one asked. "It's not a wormhole," Thasi replied. "It's an invitation." She turned back toward the assembled group, some armored, some robed, others simply ready. "This is not a return," she said. "We are not going back, we are going forward with memory in our hands." The gate pulsed once, a soft wave, gentle, no force exerted. And yet every ship, every satellite, every soul in orbit felt it, like a breath or a heartbeat. Thasi looked down at Earth one last time, still blue, still silent. But now, awake. "They called it the Loi Den," she whispered. "But it was never darkness, it was waiting." She stepped through, one foot, then the other, not into fire, not into stars, but into light shaped like ancient thought. The others followed, each shape vanishing through the circle like drops of color falling into a new canvas. On the other side, a world. Not Earth, but eerily similar. Mountains with edges too precise, forests pulsing with breath-like rhythm, ruins that had not crumbled because they'd never been touched, a city in the clouds motionless, awaiting names to be spoken again. And above it, in the sky, 6 other gates slowly blinking awake, a network, a constellation, a memory rediscovered. Back on Earth, the gate shimmered, then went still, but it did not close. It waited. In a school on a distant planet, a young boy looked up. His skin was scaled, his lungs adjusted for methane, but in his dreams, he had always run through human forests. He stared at the stars and whispered, "I think I remember her. The girl with the glowing eyes." A long time ago, humanity left behind echoes. Now, guided by one voice, they began to answer. They thought we were children of the stars. But we were the stars themselves, just asleep. This is only the beginning. Subscribe to Sci-Fi Sky for more epic human-alien journeys, where memory becomes destiny. Do you crave stories like this?